Hallo, ek is Etie. Welkom by my kanaal waar ons als saam doen. Wie is jou familielede in Afrikaans? Vind al jou antwoorde in hierdie video. Woorde wat verband hou met familie. Words related to family. The first one is familie, which is the word for family. The second one, gesin. That means the people in your immediate household family. So mom, dad, brother, sister. That is the household family. Gesin. And then we have huishouding, which is the word for household and everything going on in the household. Here we have a family tree. In Afrikaans, that is stamboom. So if we look at the top, you'll see oorgrootouers. Those are your great-grandparents. So those are your grandparents' parents. And then just below them, we have grootouers, which are your grandparents. And then below that, we have ouers, which are your parents. And then below that, we have kind for one child, or kinders for more than one child, which is you, your sister, your brother, the children, die kinders. I'm going to read these names to you just so that you can get a feel for how they sound. And then we can look at all of these in more detail in the clips that follow. So we'll start at the top with your great-grandparents. They are Opa Grootjie and Oma Grootjie. And then we move to your grandparents. They are Opa and Oma. Then your parents, for your father, it can be Pa, Papa, Vader. For your mom, it can be Ma, Mama, Moeder. And then we move on to you or your sibling. And for the brother, it can be broer, boet, or boetie. And for sister, it can be sister, sis, or sissy. What do you call your great-grandparents in Afrikaans? Now, your great-grandparents are the parents of your grandpa and grandma. Now, your great-grandfather is Opa Grootjie in Afrikaans. And your great-grandmother is Oma Grootjie. Now you see in these two blocks, I've given you examples of how to pronounce these words. The first thing you have to learn is that the letters T, J, I, E, those four letters, when they are together in an Afrikaans word, it is pronounced as ki and not chi. You might think it looks like chi, but it's not pronounced that way. Always in Afrikaans, T-J-I-E, usually used to indicate a diminutive word in Afrikaans. It is pronounced as ki. And then the second thing to note, grootjie. Phonetically, if you want to have a better example of how to pronounce that part of the word, you can also look at the bottom block, which I've shown you. You can pronounce it as grootjie. That double O-I sound, if you look at my videos on the long vowels, Afrikaans, the long vowels, triple vowels, if you look at that video, you'll see there's a sound that is double O-I, oi. And that sound is the one you use in this word, grootjie, almost, grootjie. It's not in the spelling, it's not in the original word, but the pronunciation includes that. So you can practice these two blocks if you want to understand how to better pronounce the words Oma Grootjie and Opa Grootjie. For your grandparents, we have Opa for grandfather and Oma for grandmother. This is a bit of a loaded one. So let's start with your dad, top left. So there are three ways you can address your father. Depending on the setting, depending on whether they're very conservative or very formal or not, it depends from family to family, but let's say the one I most commonly use to refer to my father is the first one, which is pa, pa. And I know there's only one a after the p, but we still pronounce it as a long a, long a. So it's pa. And that's the one you use for dad. And then the next one is papa, which is like daddy. If you're a young child, they usually call their dad papa. I used to when I was younger, and then it changed to pa when I got older. And then the one below that is very formal, often used in churches when referring to God, God the Father, then they use vader. If you're in a very conservative setting or people insist on honorifics, that's serious honorifics, then they might also expect you to say vader. That's not a way I address my dad ever. So for me, not a word I use to refer to my dad or to address my dad. I just say pa. And then the same for mother. I say ma. It's the one I most often use, which is translated to mom. In English, that'll be the equivalent of mom. And then when you're young, you can say mama. And then again, there's moeder, which very formal. I sometimes send my mom messages when I text her, and I'll say, hello moeder, hoe gaan dit? And that's like, hello mother, how are you? But that's a joke between the two of us, and it's more a term of endearment in this situation. But I never address my mother as moeder, just in a conversation or when I'm just talking to her. All right, and then we look at your sister on the left, bottom left. So the one I most often use is sister, which is just for your sister. Then you get the one that says sis. Some people use it. Also used by older people, your aunt, uncle, or somebody that can call you, sis, kom hier sis. And it's not just used in the context of this is my brother, this is my sister. But that's not one I use to when I address my sister or refer to my sister. I'll use the word sister, or the one at the bottom when it's like more of a term of endearment, or you're younger, then you can say, oh, sissy, that is my sissy, or this is my sister. And it could either be because it's more of a term of endearment, or maybe it's the way you guys address each other within the household, or you're just young and you use the diminutive form sissy. But the one for me, sister, one I use mostly. And then the same for brother. It's again broer, I think most commonly used. And then we have boet, which again is a way some older people talk about young guys or young men. Kom hier boet, come here brother. So there's boet. Some people say that is my boet, this is my brother, but I don't know, not in my community. That's not one that's often used. And then also one that's, I guess, more often used, the diminutive form of boet, which is boetie. That is my boetie, this is my brother. Also used term of endearment, or when you're younger, or just some people, again, that's the way they talk about their brother, that is my boetie, and they don't use broer as often. But the one I go for is broer. So yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to be down here. This is the best visual representation I could come up with, and I hope it's clear. But at the top, you'll see aunt and uncle and aunt and uncle. So your uncle, the Afrikaans word is oom. Oom. And the Afrikaans word for aunt is tannie. Tannie. And then you go down and you'll see you've got neef or neefie. So it's neef or the diminutive form neefie. Both of those are acceptable when you want to refer to your male cousin. And if you want to refer to your female cousin, use the word niggie. Niggie. Okay, please bear with me on this one. I'm going to try and explain this situation best I can. Okay, so let's start off with, in English, when you are referring to your sister's child, let's say you've got a sister and your sister's got a child. Whether that's male or female, we'll get to that. But so in English, there are words for this. We have, okay, so if your sister has a daughter, then it's like my niece, right? And if your sister has a son, then it's my nephew. But in Afrikaans, it works a little bit differently. In Afrikaans, the word is related to the mother or father. So the word will be related to your sister or your brother and not to the child's gender, but to whether the parent's gender. Let's put it that way. It's related to the parent's gender and not to the child's gender. Right, so let's say you're referring to your niece, which is female. In Afrikaans, you'll refer to jou or your broerskind, which means your brother's child, or your sisterskind, which means your sister's child. But that's all it's going to tell you. Dit is my broerskind, which means this is my brother's child. Of dit is my sisterskind, this is my sister's child. And it remains broerskind or sisterskind irrespective of the child's gender. So it could be, the child could be a girl or a boy. It wouldn't change the fact that it's broerskind or sisterskind. And then you'll have to specify, okay, well, Amy is my broerskind, which would mean Amy is my brother's child. Or you'll say Amy is my sisterskind. Then you'll have referred to Amy as my sister's child. But there is no word like nephew or niece in Afrikaans. That word is broerskind or sisterskind, but then you still only know who the parent was, and you don't know you'll know the parent's gender but not the child's gender. So it's opposite from English in that respect. So if your brother has a boy and a girl, you'll call both of those. They won't be your niece and your nephew like in English. They'll both be jou broerskinders, jou broerskind. And if your sister has a boy and a girl, they will both be your sisterskind or your sisterskinders, and they won't be your niece and your nephew, it's like in English. So it's, yeah. And then you'll still have to specify, okay, well, my sisterskind is a meisie, which means my sister's child is a girl. So you can't tell what the niece or the nephew is by the word broerskind or the word sisterskind, because that only tells you whether it's your brother or sister's child. I really hope this was a good enough explanation. It is a bit of a mind shuffle, and I'm learning new things about my first language in this process as well. I've learned there's a lot of things that I thought Afrikaans might have that they don't have, and that English has, you know. But yeah, I sincerely hope this explanation was good enough. And if you have any more questions about any of this, please leave it in the comment section. In this last clip, we just have extra examples of broerskind and sisterskind. So you'll see there at the top, we've got Sunny features again. Sunny is my broerskind, or Sunny is my sisterskind. So that would just mean either Sunny is my brother's child or Sunny is my sister's child. And then that is how you would refer to your niece. And then we have how you will refer to your nephew, and we use Jannie. Jannie also features a lot in the older Afrikaans literature. And so we have Jannie is my broerskind, or Jannie is my sisterskind. So that's Jannie is my brother's child, or Jannie is my sister's child. That was a lot. I hope you can use this, practice on your family members, and I'll see you in the next video.